Drill untrue, friends. It is me, Lord Magnus. Hey, what's up, y'all? What's up, my niggas? I've come back to warn you. No. Oh. Listen, I've been gone a long time. I went to get some milk and got lost. No. Hey. I've been gone a while. Drill untrue, friends, and hello. Welcome back to the channel. Listen, I'm Lord Magnus, and I know I haven't put out a video in a really long time, and I'm sorry. Life gets in the way sometimes. But as everyone knows, or at least people that actually know me, I'm a huge Star Trek fan as I sit here with my Star Trek coffee mug. And I watched the Section 31 movie. So before I watched it, I saw it had a whole lot of bad reviews. I didn't actually read them. I actually just looked at the scores, and you know, IGN gave it a 2, and some other places gave it some really low numbers. And I was like, oh my God, how could it be that bad? Like, I love Michelle Yeoh, and I was down for this idea for the Section 31 show. I think after watching it, I feel like the problem is really it was a movie and not a show, and I think that's really what messed it up. So if you don't know anything about what Section 31 was supposed to be, or whatever, if you're a Star Trek fan, you probably already know. But anyway, during the first season of Discovery, before it even come out, Michelle Yeoh had suggested to Alex Kurtzman, who was the executive producer of Star Trek at the time, that they make a spin-off show based on Philippa Georgiou, who the character that Michelle Yeoh was playing. She wanted it to be wanted the character to be a role model for, you know, young Asian girls, which is dope, honestly. I mean, and Michelle Yeoh is fucking awesome. The first season came out, everybody loved the character, so, you know, obviously they were like, oh, okay, yeah, this could work. 2018, they do the 5-year deal with Alex Kurtzman, where it basically puts him like in charge of Star Trek. And so they're talking about expanding the franchises from Discovery and adding, you know, new shows and stuff. And the Section 31 show with Michelle Yeoh was in there. The second season, I can't remember if it was the second or third season, but one of those seasons was to deal with Section 31 in Discovery and made them like the villain. So up until this time, we had only ever seen a Section 31 on Deep Space Nine. And when they finally came to the forefront of the Discovery, it was so different than what they had shown was, you know, what the organization was in Deep Space Nine. Well, so the Section 31 show was supposed to kind of bridge that gap. And it was going to show the evolution of the organization on how it kind of evolved from the out in the open, you know, everybody knows our name, to the more in the shadow operators that they were, you know, in Deep Space Nine. So that was the idea for the, you know, for the Section 31 show. We're going to fast forward to Discovery's third season ends. Philippa is written out of the show. She is transported to a different place, a different time. And I think they used a really cool, you know, plot device for that.
I am the guardian of forever.
Anyway, so she's written off the show for years. It's, you know, it's bounced back and forth. You know, is it coming? Is it not? You know, are we getting Section 31 in the show? Well, finally in, when was this? It was Michelle Yeoh won the Academy Award for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And personally, I feel like when that happened, you know, Paramount was like, oh man, well, listen, we already have, you know, this Academy Award winning actress. You know, we already have this vehicle for her. let's just flip it, and from a show, we'll just turn it into a movie, capitalize on some of that star power and stuff, and it'll be great. I feel like that was one thought process with the Section 31 stuff, just because it had been such development hell. But the other reason why it could have been flipped to a movie as opposed to staying a show is because is the same reason, honestly, because she won the Academy Award. Only this is because the demands on her time would be such she may not have time to do a show season after season or whatever. We might not be able to lock her down for that because she gonna have all kind of roles coming in left or right. So they flipped it and ended up turning it into a movie. Either way, I think a lot of the soul of the project maybe was lost in that flip to a movie. I don't know if maybe soul is the right term, because the whole idea for this spinoff was supposed to be a vehicle for Michelle Yeoh. So a Philippa Georgiou spinoff that was going to give you more of her. They just recruited her to Section 31 and it kind of became a perfect fit. So if you don't know anything about Section 31, and the Star Trek fans do, they are basically the Federation's version of like the CIA. Throughout Star Trek, the shows, the movies and different stuff, we've seen a lot of the other superpowers in the galaxies kind of like CIA shadow operative, their little divisions, right? Like the Cardassians have the Obsidian Order, the Romulans have the Tal Shiar, and we've seen all those. Well, Deep Space Nine introduced Section 31 for the Federation. So, everybody thought the Federation was just so high and mighty, and, they, wouldn't do this type of, dark shadows kind of assassinations, wet work stuff or whatever. But as it turns out, the Section 31 stuff was written to the very charter of the Federation since the beginning. They've always been there. And as Discovery showed us, people knew of them, back then. But in the Deep Space Nine time, which is the 24th century, they're more, shadow operatives. Coming to this movie, and okay, so let me back up because of the lack of information that we really have on Section 31, one of the reasons I was jazzed about this show, excuse me one second. That's good coffee. One of the reasons I was jazzed about this show was that it was going to shine a light on this organization that we didn't know a lot about, right? In essence, the show really could be like Mission Impossible. They have, every episode starts with some sort of a mission that they have to undertake. And it ends with, some satisfying conclusion, or maybe not a satisfying conclusion. But the stakes can be so much bigger here because now, instead of on a planetary scale, we're worried about countries and dictators and whatever else. Now it's a galactic scale, and there's just so much different stuff I think that they could do with that. But they opted for the movie route. And was Section 31 entertaining? Yes, it was. But I think the biggest problem with it is you could literally take out the characters that we know, which there are two. There's, Philippa Georgiou, and then young Rachel Garrett, who ends up becoming captain of the Enterprise C, is here. So and maybe I didn't say this. If you're watching this, you probably already know. But Section 31 takes place in between the original series and the Next Generation. So before the show, the Next Generation. So there's all that gray area of stuff that we haven't actually seen during that time period. And that's why they set it there. So you got a young Rachel Garrett that will become, captain of the Enterprise C. And if you remove those two people and you change those characters to like Sylvia Crackyak from Picor 9 and her friend Joe, the movie would still work. Like for what they presented, it would still be fine. Like, because the Section 31 stuff, like you could even remove the Section 31 stuff, honestly. And that's what, I don't know, I think that's what hurts me the most. The Section 31 stuff ends up becoming window dressing. It ends up being the setup for the movie. So the beginning, the team, Section 31, sends their operatives to go and find Philippa because, she was recruited to their organization, and now she's kind of went rogue and she's left them and hid out somewhere. So they're sent out to find her. And then in the course of that, other stuff happens. And I'm not going to spoil this here, but this movie, oh man, this movie could have been called Star Trek Ghost. And I say that because rather than being a movie that's really about Section 31 and showing, that organization, and I mean the overall series was always supposed to be a starring thing for Philippa Georgiou, but the movie just turns into Philippa Georgiou facing down ghosts from her past. It ends up being, to take a line from the film, her past catching up with her. That's what this movie is. Section 31 just kind of takes a backseat. Like, there's some operatives there, and I don't want to downplay the acting, because I think the acting was really good here, except for the Vulcan character. I could have done without him. But Amari Hardwick is in this. He plays the leader of the Section 31 team that's sent to go find Philippa. He does a great job. He has a pretty interesting backstory that links into some other Star Trek lore that, again, I won't spoil here. Sam Richardson is also in this, and he plays, which is really cool, a Comaloid, which, again, the real ones will know that is the alien that Iman played in Star Trek 6, the shapeshifter. So it was kind of neat. They had all these different callbacks to past stuff, which is cool. But man, this movie just, I don't know. It just wasn't it. Like, and it kind of feels like that they still wanted to make it a show in some regards, and I'm going to date myself here. So back in the day, when new series would launch, some of them would launch with like a 2-hour movie that would come on TV, and it would be like the pilot movie for that show. And then at the end of it, it would kind of go, the team would be sitting down or talking or whatever, and everybody would be kind of like talking about the next day's adventure or whatever. Because it's kind of giving that, or it's trying to give that semblance of, this is an ongoing thing. You're going to see us, again. This movie ends like that. So this movie ends with the new Section 31 team getting a mission. And it's like, okay. So like, is it now going to be a Section 31 show? Or I don't know. It sounds like I hated it, and I didn't hate it. Like, it was entertaining. Like, the story was cool. There was some crazy stuff there, but I don't know. I think we could have found a different way to use Section 31. It didn't have to be used here. And honestly, I feel like it's kind of wasted, because there's a lot of stuff that could be told there. And that's really, and I'm going to end, I'm getting ready to cut this off. I know y'all are like, man, shut the hell up. So I really like the fact in this new Star Trek, that we've seen, that they're showing so many stories that are telling so many stories that aren't centered on just the Federation, because the galaxy is so vast. And I get that the Federation is supposed to be humanity, and Star Trek was always supposed to be like an allegory, telling, stories and or looking into a mirror kind of thing, stories about real life and stuff that's happening in our real world. And so that's why the focus is always on the Federation and humanity and their approach and growth and whatever else. That's cool. Listen, I'm a Star Trek fan. I know the diehard ones will hate hearing me say this, but we can tell stories from these other races' perspectives and in other places. We don't always have to focus on the humans in the Federation. Give me a Tal Shiar show. Give me any show about the Romulans. I love the Romulans. The Romulans are my absolute favorite race in all of Star Trek. Give me a show about the Romulans. Show me a on-the-ground show of some private detective working on some, backwater planet somewhere, but there's still warp travel and transporters and all this stuff that the Star Trek shows and the lore has birthed. We can still tell stories in that universe and not focus on the Federation. And I think it will be Star Trek fandom in general would be better for it. But that's just me. So, as I said, I didn't hate the movie. I didn't love it. I was entertained though. It's okay. But, you know, check it out for yourself. It's streaming now on Paramount Plus. Again, Star Trek Section 31. That title is not even needed, but whatever. Yes, I'm going to be back with some more videos. I have a bunch of comic book stuff that I have in the pipeline that I want to get out. So there'll be more, you know, stuff like this. So until then, friends, I need an exit line.